Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we'll be going over the Rathma set in Diablo. With season 23's release not so long ago, new seasonal rewards came out, and as usual, one of them being a free armor set when completing a bunch of objectives at level 70. We're gonna have a look at how far this build can go and what you will need to make Rathma's set work this season. We'll be covering everything from gear, cube, gems, legendary gems, skills, passive skills, and some basic tips to get you started on your mission. Now, keep in mind that there are better builds out there, and I have done a video on the most prominent build for Necromancer this season, which will be in the description below, so go and check that out if you want to go further this season. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the video, and as always, I hope you enjoy, guys. So firstly, let's take a look at the items and the gear you will be needing to make this set work. Your primary goal after reaching level 70 is to do the seasonal objectives to unlock the Rathma set, or to get the set bonus from Rathmas if you already have used your seasonal rewards on another character. Before we start talking about specific legendaries, let's take a look at what the Rathma set actually does. What are the bonuses of using this set compared to others? Once you obtain two pieces of gear that are part of the Rathma set, you get an effect that makes your pets reduce the cooldown of Army of the Dead by 0.5 seconds every time they deal damage. It also makes your revived minions last forever. This bonus is pretty important as it reduces the cooldown of Army of the Dead, which is your main source of damage. Not only that, but it makes your revived minions last forever, which you'll see later is a very important trait with this build. The second set bonus after unlocking 4 pieces of the Rathma set will grant your pets the effect to no longer take damage. You will also get a damage taken reduction buff every time your pets attack by 1%, up to 75% reduction, which will be your fundamental and primary source of survivability. This will allow you to survive much higher level rifts, but keep in mind that you need to ramp this up. Although it goes pretty quickly, it's a good habit to play defensive if you just died or you just started a rift to regain the full bonus of this effect. Lastly, we have our main source of damage as the last tier set effect. Upon reaching the last set bonus, each of your permanent active pets will give your Army of the Dead a 500% damage increase per active and permanent pet, with a maximum of 9000%. This effect is why Army of the Dead will be so important in this build. A key thing to remember while playing Rathma is that having a maximum amount of revived minions as well as your usual command skeleton minions will directly increase your damage done. Before we continue, what do you think about this set? Is it enjoyable? Is it better than other Necro sets you've tried so far? Let me know in the comments section what you think and what set you want me to make a video on, or a specific class or build. Just let us know in the comments section. Anyway, with your primary set out of the way, let's talk weapon slot, which will be the Jesseth Scythe and the Jesseth Shield. 2-piece set, this will give you a set bonus of when a target that is currently being command skeleton focused dies, the skeletons will automatically jump to a new target, lessening the amount of essence you use on command skeletons, as well as it being more efficient and quicker overall. The other set bonus you get is a flat increase to your damage by 400% when a target has command skeleton on it. This will be a huge priority while playing this build, and overall will give you a nice boost in your damage, so make sure command skeleton is always active while playing this build. Lastly, for sets, I know it's a bunch of sets for one build, but anyway, this will be the last one. Captain Crimson's Trimmings, a blacksmith craft set. You will be using both the belt and the pants from this set with the effect of Ring of Royal Grandeur in your cube to get the full free set bonus from Captain Crimson. The effects are quite basic, giving you damage, toughness and recovery, which overall is a nice addition to add to the set, both increasing your defense and your offense overall. That being said, it's time to check out the legendaries you'll be on the lookout for while gearing, starting with the neck piece Squid's Necklace, a legendary that increases your damage by up to 100% when you don't take damage, but also on the flip side increases damage you take by 50% while you're not taking damage. What this will do is simply increase your overall damage as well as make the set slightly more challenging, as you can suddenly take a lot of damage, meaning that you're looking to use your pets as a shield so you can get a maximum amount of value from this effect. Up next, let's look at our wrist slot, which will be the legendary Bonds of Kanai, with the effect of increasing your Army of the Dead damage by 85%, or double that effect against a target that has command skeletons active on it. This legendary is pretty self-explanatory and increases your main source of damage, Army of the Dead, but it also puts more emphasis on correctly using command skeleton while pushing greater rift levels. Lastly, we have 2 ring slots, starting with Crispin's Sentence. The effect of this ring usually goes hand to hand with the Necromancer spec, and this build is not different. What this ring does is increase your damage by 95% on slowed targets. Triple this effect if that target is stunned instead. Not much to add here aside for bone armor being a nice way to activate this extra damage. For the last legendary and ring slot, we have Convention of the Elements, a ring that increases the damage of an element by up to 200%, changing between 3 elements constantly, at least for necromancers. The one we're interested in is the poison damage increase, as our Army of the Dead is poison damage. This ring can add a layer of difficulty if you try to play around it, as well as some good damage increase. Right, with our gear out of the way, let's look at our cube. Starting with our weapon slot, Niz Black Death. What this will do is increase your poison damage by 95% for every poison skill you use for 15 seconds. A nice overall damage increase to our Army of the Dead ability, as well as some lovely synergy with our Convention of the Elements ring. For our armor slot, in the cube we'll be using Fate's Vow, another damage increase of 207% to our Army of the Dead, as well as the bonus effect of the unconventional Warfare rune. Lastly, for our cube, we will be using Ring of Royal Grandeur, which I have mentioned a bunch of times in this video already. What this will do is enable you to wear one less item of a set and still gain its effect, which is why we have both the Captain Crimson's trimmings and the Rathma set. A quick note, while on this ring, you can only obtain it from the reward cache from Act 1 bounties. I recommend farming it as soon as you can, and usually it takes close to no time, so I would really recommend you start farming it as soon as you can. Alright, now let's get to the fun stuff, your skills, and what you will be using, starting with your primary ability, Grim Scythe, with the rune Cursed Scythe, which will place random curses when you strike enemies with the Grim Scythe ability. This just gives a lot of synergy with both your rings, legendary gems, and your overall survivability. This will also be your main source of essence. As your secondary skill, you will want Command Skeletons, with the rune Frenzy for a faster attack speed on your skeletons, as well as an overall faster cooldown recovery of your Army of the Dead via the Rathma set effects. Next up, we have Bone Armor, with the Dislocation rune. What this skill will do is proc your Crispin's Sentence effect and also give you some nice extra needed survivability with this build. Now, of course, we have the most important skill and your main source of damage, Army of the Dead, with the rune Blighted Grasp, making it a poison skill which has synergy with a bunch of gear you will be using as well as your cube slots. For our mobility, we have Blood Rush, with the rune Potency, a teleport at the cost of 5% of your health points, which increases your armor for a short amount of time. A great way to attack mobs, but also to escape tricky situations. Lastly, for our active skills, we have Revive with the Horrific Return rune. This skill, as I mentioned before, will increase your damage and will also give you more minions to use as protection. The rune effect will make enemies feared every time you use this skill, making it easier to survive as well as to do damage to them. Now let's look at our passive skills, starting with Spreading Malediction, a passive skill that increases your damage by an additional 1% for each cursed enemy. Something to keep in mind while using your Grim Scythe to put curses on enemies is that you are directly increasing your overall damage. For our second passive skill, we have Eternal Torment, which will make your curses last forever. Just a nice addition to both your spreading malediction and the rune you are using on Grim Scythe. For our third passive skill, we will be using Swift Harvesting for the extra attack speed on our Grim Scythe so we can generate essence faster as well as curse enemies faster and more of them. Lastly, for our last skill, I would recommend Grisly Tribute, as it will heal you constantly as you have quite a few pets with this build, making healing yourself an actual joke, as every time your pets will attack they will heal you for up to 10% of your health. For one of our last topics, we will have the gems you'll be using on your legs, weapons, chest piece, and headpiece. With this set, you will want to be using gems of the Topaz family on both your legs and your chest piece. This will simply increase your overall damage. You can also use ruby gems for more survivability if you're struggling on the department though. For your weapon, you will want to use an emerald gem, which will give you an increase to your critical hit damage by up to 130% if using Flawless Royal. Just a great damage increase once again. When it comes to your helmet, we will be using gems of the Diamond family for an extra cooldown reduction to our skills by up to 12.5%. This is just great to reduce our Army of the Dead cooldown. With the basic gems out of the way, it's time to look at our legendary gems. Starting with the first legendary gem you want with this build is Bane of the Trapped, which increases the damage you do to crown control enemies. It also gets an effect that slows all enemies by 30% when they are within 15 yards. This goes hand to hand with the ring Crispin Sentence and makes this gem very valuable to this build. The second legendary gem you'll want is Gogok of Swiftness, which increases attack speed and your dodge chance for 4 seconds. This effect stacks up to 15 times and gets reset every time you get a stack. The second effect this gem has is to give you a 1% cooldown reduction per stack, up to 15% once again, which has a great synergy with Rathma sets as you try to reset your Army of the Dead frequently. The last legendary gem you'll want is Zay's Stone of Vengeance, which increases the damage you deal depending on how far away the enemy is. The further it is, the more damage you do, making your damage to the back of a pack really strong. At rank 25, it will also give your attacks 20% chance to stun for 1 second, which is once again perfect with Crispin's Sentence. A quick note on what potion you want to be using in most situations. You will want to run Bottomless Potion in the tower, which gives you armor when you use it, making you more tanky for a few seconds after usage. With everything you need already explained, here are some beginning tips while playing the Rathma set. Have your command skeleton active on a target at all times while in combat. This again will reset your army much faster as well as increase its damage upon usage. Secondly, keep the maximum amount of revive minions up where possible. This will both help you dodge throwables and spells, but it will also increase your Army of the Dead damage considerably. Thirdly, use your bone armor just before using Army of the Dead for extra damage from the Crispin Sentence ring. Last tip, always try to have one Army of the Dead for your poison damage increase cycle on your Convention of the Elements. Anyway, guys, I think I've been going on for too long already. So, as always, thank you for watching. Like, sub, and press that bell button if you like my content, as it really helps out the channel grow. And until next time, guys, have a nice one. See ya!
The shadows will take you.